Never.
What's that?
Yes, yeah, you see.
That's a cocktail topic. But for tonight, guys, welcome to the Hotbox show. And as always, we'll be talking Dank. This evening's topics are going to be lit af. We're going to be talking about why 70's weed sucked, vertical gardening for your ganja, and what to do when your neighbours complain about your dank being too loud. We're also going to be slipping in a bit of a breaking news thing about what was it, Bufasa?
BFSA.
BFASA.
Black Farmers Association of South Africa.
High five, Joe.
As opposed to Afasa.
So guys, we're going to be getting into it, but before we take a look at what we're toking and dabbing on this evening, this week's poll is pothead offensive? Definitely.
Offensive.
Kinda. No. And I know I say pothead, but I could be referring to a lot of things that they use to refer as stoners that could now be potentially offensive.
Even stoner.
Yeah. Zolkop, Kaaskop, Daggakop, Alleskop.
Loskop.
Yeah,
Daggafarian.
I do find it offensive because it's usually said with an offence intended.
Oh.
Yeah, it's the tone of it.
Seems
Seems
if
derogatory.
it's banter between you and your best friend and you're like, then it's not offensive, but usually it's aimed with offence by some religious,
Or prohibitionist.
prohibitionist style person.
I mean, if you do a comparison, you go like someone that's an alcoholic, but that's telling someone that's got way beyond and they're at a point where they have a disease. It's they can't control it as it is, but you can't. A stoner is not someone that is completely unfunctional that can't do anything. So there's a bit of a blurred line as to what you can call it. I mean, someone that's completely useless and just smokes weed. That's just someone that's.
So
useless.
you're saying if they've low key earned it, in a way. So if someone's a pothead, call them a pothead.
Or what do you call someone that drinks a lot it isn't an alcoholic but yet can drink and handle their booze? They're proud of being called that. A boozer.
Do we call?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
We don't.
There is
we
no
don't say
good
anything.
connotational word or whatever it is for this kind of stuff.
An alkie.
And that's bad
But-
though.
It's bad.
That's bad because you're an alcoholic then.
Yeah,
But it's honest.
yeah.
But too much is too much.
I
of
normally
anything.
dronk gatten.
So,
But you see, there's no good
Same
name. What we're trying to get at, there's
Yeah.
no good name
no.
to call someone like a smoker, a stoner, a smoker. You're a smoker, or someone that smokes cigarettes. You're a smoker.
You're one of those hippies.
Yeah, I think generally it's not good to refer to somebody on the basis of what substance they like to use.
Exactly. It's a very judgmental way.
It's a very thin line. It can easily go the derogatory way. I mean, among ourselves we call each other stoners.
You see, the thing is, it's also maybe given out with the intention of being offensive, but like we're stoners and we chill and we don't always
We
take
don't mind
offense.
it. Yeah, we're proud stoners almost.
Well, I think Dan's on a very good point there. Like we've seen this with words like marijuana and even the N-bomb, that when words are used in a derogatory sense, that those cultures tend to appropriate them back. So
Yes.
we may have been proud of the pothead personas and all that stereotypical shit, and now people are using it for clickbait articles, and yes, potentially to be mean, but it's also, you don't say it about other aspects of life as you're bringing up.
Yeah.
Hopefully we do take it back.
Polkopper.
Pilkopper, tikkopper.
Yeah.
That's
So
what I'm
like-
saying. It's only a derogatory term.
Yeah.
There's no good way to call
Daggakop
anything.
It's
Implies
usually people who
that
go
you-
bad when they're on that substance.
Yeah,
They're implying that it's going
Daggakop-
to your,
that's
you're
the
letting
thing.
it get to your head.
Yeah, Daggakop implies that you have a substance use disorder. That's what it does. It's like alcoholic, It means that you, in bad terms that shouldn't be used, you are addicted to the substance.
Yeah.
So
Trying to find where
I
we
don't
go.
think we're stoners. I say the word stoner even. I don't think that we are necessarily using those words because, like Wormschlang says, it comes to a point with a person's use when it is potentially an issue, and then you can call them a SAHPRA or whatever. But as stoners, I've never felt that. I wouldn't call someone a stoner if they were writing off their life necessarily, you know.
Yeah.
I would call them a stoner even if they just smoked once a week or whatever,
Yeah, yeah.
and if they got 420 in that. So I don't feel like that's derogatory.
Not at all, but that's
No.
how we're saying. We actually accept it. We're happy with being called stoners because we know.
The word doesn't
Yeah.
seem rude because when we smoke
I call myself
cannabis,
stoner.
we get stoned.
Yeah.
So we're stoners.
It's like calling someone a donkey. You're saying, I'm a donkey. You know, we're a bunch of
Someone who
donkeys.
likes to
Because
hoy.
you're getting drunk and getting stoned.
But if
so
you say somebody is drunk, it's almost like a kind of an insult to them. It means they can't take their liquor.
But
you
that's
can
what
get
it does,
very
though.
stoned and still be compass
But then,
mentis,
but
so-
then that's literally, I mean, if you like you just said, when you get drunk, you are so ugly and
and you're
fraught
unpleasant to
and
sober
unpleasant.
people. But if you're stoned, you're still pleasant
You're
to sober
still
people. So there
cool.
is a difference here.
Yes.
I bet there are, you know, I think we are making the adverse and we're falling into the trap of just like I'm saying sometimes we get typecast or stereotyped with stoner and pothead. I think we're falling for that same trap by assuming that some oaks don't smoke a joint and get belligerent. I know oaks who smoke weed
I know
and get
there
belligerent.
there are people.
Yeah.
Indeed. Not everybody has the right personality for substances.
And it's not an everyday thing. It's not like I see an oak smash a bong and suddenly he wants to go beat up the whole family.
Mm.
But I've seen guys where it certainly didn't stop them.
Yeah. Yeah. Extreme cases though.
So, the verdict. Is pothead offensive?
To me? No.
No. Joe?
Kinda. I'm gonna go on a kinda here because it depends on who it's coming from and the intent behind it.
Okay.
But I still think
So then
stoner
it's
is
a
a
yes- then it's a
nicer,
yes or no, yeah.
nicer word than pothead because pothead is. I call myself a stoner. I don't call myself a pothead. Yeah.
But you can
Yeah,
also be a,
pothead it implies once again that you don't have complete control over what you're doing. There's something wrong. It is not a very positive term.
but also there's the terminology of basshead. Heard of a basshead? If you're a basshead,
If
you
you
like
listen to lots of drum and
that's
bass,
it. And it's a
But
good,
that's
it's
not
a good
bad.
thing. So now
because I'm one.
you see what, but that's another thing. So now pothead, it's just another name for cannabis, ganja, dope. It's just another word.
It's
being
somewhat
called that.
not the same, you know, because pothead still implies that it's a substance that you're using, and you, with that, there's always the implication that something could go wrong or that you have a problem with it. But you can't have a problem with drum and bass, really. I mean,
I bet there's some oaks pawning their shit for drum and bass. LPs. It's electro. So, Charles, if someone called you a pothead, you'd be offended.
a little bit, you know, but you know, you have to take some abuse sometimes, I suppose.
So I think that sounds like a kind
You
of.
wouldn't
I
stab
don't
them
find
with
it
the...
pleasant. It's not a nice word to call somebody.
If you had to go to any person that drinks too much and call them an alky, what do you think they'd react like?
You're not going to be happy.
Not going to be happy, and they're
Swiftly
going
with
to be very, very vocal about it, right? Go to a stone and call them a pothead or a stone, they're going to be like, all right, dude, cool, be on your way type thing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? There's
yeah.
a different, there'll be a different reaction
Different
that might come
cultures.
from it. Different cultures,
Completely
different
cultures.
perceptions of the words, I think. Even
Because you know in your heart that even somebody that smokes lots of cannabis, they don't have the same issues that somebody that, say, drinks a lot would have. If you drink too much, then you will throw up, you know, you'll have
Violence.
hangovers, you can get violent or
aggressive, yeah,
rude.
of course, yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's worse.
What do you think? If I called you a pothead? Harry Potted.
It's kind of like, for me, it's kind of like N-word rules.
Mhm.
So, you know, I feel like you have, for me to not be offended,
Just
you would
don't
have
say
to
it.
be it to say it.
Okay,
You know?
I get it.
Yeah.
So if a
You got to
pothead
be a
calls me a
stoner to call a
pothead,
stoner.
I'd be cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
if you want to, but if you came to me and said you Zorkop or something like that,
And judged you
It
from
stays
the
in the
beginning,
culture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
then yes, of course it's offensive.
you may or may not come out of the venue to find yourself with 4 flat tires. You, bro? You find it offensive?
Just depends on how and who uses it. So
You
I'm
do?
a porter, so
Nothing offensive.
nothing offends
And
me,
that-
brah.
But even that in itself, calling someone a porter has its own context, you know?
And don't get me wrong, I'm also Portuguese, and I've also called someone porra, and they did not like it at all. And I've been called porra, and I don't mind it.
Right.
I think it's more to the person, to the individual
It's
person.
all,
that
all
is-
about the situation and the context.
how stuck
Yeah,
up
how you
are
say
you,
it.
and how fucking big is your ego that you're going to react to this person's words to you?
It's best to stay away from those kind of words.
Yeah. Don't be a Karen, eh?
Yeah.
Bru, do you find it offensive?
Depends on the context.
Okay. I can see you bottling things up here, dude. So you have to speak up, eh?
Well, it would imply that that's what you do in life, and I mean, if they saw what you're up to in your personal life, the term Dagga wouldn't be used, you know.
It's one very one-dimensional thing to say to a person. Yeah, dude.
It is very one-dimensional. Exactly. Yeah.
So guys, please remember to like, share, subscribe. Vote in this week's Zol poll. Is pothead offensive? Definitely, kinda, no. Before we get on to this week's CBDNN, let's take a little bit of a look at a nug and what we're toking in tonight.
So, what are we toking in? Toking in the raw, using a rolling paper.
Okay.
And I think we were given some, yes, this was some cheese that we were given.
Cascorp.
Cascorp. So good old cheese, got that cheese smell to it, you know, totally recognizable. Yeah, nice and dense, with the crystals, and I think that's about it, eh? The guys have got some dabs here. What is that here?
It's the one from last week.
Same from last week.
Yeah.
The Durban boys.
Yeah. So, taking it easy, steady vibing.
Nice, man. I think we put more effort into the munchies than the weed this week, eh?
Yes, we got biscuits, and we got chips, and we got everything tonight. So
Oh,
we
we're gonna
Smoke
go.
first.
Huh?
We have to smoke
Yeah,
first.
so we'll smoke
The
this so we
chips,
can get into this.
And for those of
Jolly
you
jammers.
who don't know, I've trademarked a term here on the show for when we get super high and bring on the diabetes. I call it the higher-betes.
IBs.
The higher beauties.
So, guys, we have got a jam-packed CBDNN this week. The first story is about what do you do when your neighbours no longer want to tolerate the smell of your dank?
Tell them to go fly kite.
Just like that, bro.
Straight up.
But it's
Clouds of
not
dank.
that simple. So the story is in the Cape Business News. Tired of the pothead smoking Dagga in your complex? These are your legal options. Now that South Africans have the freedom to smoke Dagga at home, what does that mean for non-smoking residents living in a complex? While smoking Dagga in the Specialist Sectional Title Attorney Marina Constas says that the space is considered private if it is registered as an exclusive use area on the title deed. So this chick gets lank into the boring here. But what she's basically saying is, let's say you're in a complex, your townhouse or whatever, either your backyard is your backyard, or what it's most commonly registered at it is a common area.
Yes.
So even though it's your backyard, you actually only own your posi. The land that your garden's in and that you treat as your yard may be
Common,
a
yeah.
common property.
So like
You
off
just
of
have
your
to pay
stook.
to keep it maintained and planted and pretty.
Most complexes are like that.
Yeah.
So that means that I'm smoking there in my townhouse, lacquer. My gas is too loud, it wafts over there like, no, my lighties are smelling the weed. Hey, put out the wildfire. Can they call the cops on me? And can the cops say, yes, it's your right to smoke weed, but you can't have your gas
You
being
gotta
too
downgrade.
loud?
You gotta downgrade, bro.
Moments.
No more fire.
Moments, bro.
Moments.
Personally, you know, I'm vegan, and if my neighbours were having a braai, no, I'm not going to go and
Just
complain
to
about the
bring up
smell
this
of
point,
meat.
yeah.
So,
It's they're having their braai,
there
you know,
are
let them do
people
their
who
thing.
do,
It's a
though.
once-off.
but there
But
are
if-
people who do,
There are
you're
people
right.
who do.
I suppose you don't braai every day, but you could smoke weed every day.
Yeah.
I know
See,
people who
Australia
buy
wouldn't
every
I can
day.
complain.
cry every day. Don't
What's wrong
worry.
with buying every
No
day?
problem.
Yeah, I know people. I also made a term for this. When you braai twice in a day, it's called a Bryce. And I know oaks who Bryce Lank per day.
Lunch and dinner.
So I think their neighbours might also get a bit much of the smell of pork chops, especially because his oaks are puzzer face and the pork chop sometimes spends 2 hours on the braai.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
people like to make a huge fuss whenever they smell weed. It's generally not necessary to make a scene about it, you know, and it's not that intrusive most of the time. It's just because they can smell it
Exactly.
at all. It's not like there's mountains of smoke blowing all over.
Well, that's the thing.
their-
Smoke one joint
a joint
with a wall, say, right next to us here, and your neighbour's that side of the wall. One joint, and they'll smell and they'll complain or whatever. So
if
if
I
smoke
make a loaf of
cigarettes
bread,
all day, or sit
maybe
there
it's
smoke
gonna smell
cigarettes all day, they can still smell them.
Yeah.
So what they say is these rules would apply to cigarettes as well.
Oh, will it?
So if you're there smoking your Marlboro Plains in the backyard on your 20th one for that afternoon, got the oxygen tank and
And then you're your dying moment and you want to smoke your fucking
speaking
cigarettes.
through a hole,
It's because it's the new law that no smoking in any
Public.
public.
Exactly.
This only pertains to the complexes and say flats where the word would go
Yeah, where
in
you share
and out,
space.
or shared space, or very close living
Yeah.
quarters, obviously.
Sorry, did tobacco just get criminalized?
I was just going to say, like, how's this? what's
Not
that doing?
tobacco,
They,
the
The act.
smell of tobacco,
The act of
but also
smoking.
smoking in
yeah,
public.
smoking in public. That's
So
been
basically,
reformed.
all smoking of all things
Can't
now.
smoke in public.
Drinking and smoking in public is a no-no.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for oaks who's sitting in the townhouse or the flat, hitting the balcony or whatever, you may not be allowed to anymore. And also, I would imagine to an extent, I've had neighbours complain about many things. Let's say your weed wafts out your windows, across the lawn, into their radius or whatever, and they whiff it. Oaks might still complain, and they say,
And what if it's the whiff of your weed that's growing?
And,
There-
and restaurants?
restaurants? Restaurants, I think, would have to be a smoking area thing, but I don't see any restaurant saying,
Oh,
come
I'll take a
smoke weed
smoking
in our
section.
area.
Yes, I am
Restaurant.
waiting for the first restaurant to have a smoker's room with a green friendly sign on it.
That's why you go to
We're
Oaks
gonna
like
make
the
a
green
whole
sign.
state away.
Yes.
Yes.
Imagine how much food they'd sell.
I mean, I've been into an airport with a vape, and I smoked in the airport smoking
Yeah.
space, but no one knew, and it wasn't really. But
Yeah.
still, it'd be really cool
Yeah.
if it was allowed to.
It would have to be like, I don't know if you guys have seen that episodes of Boondocks where they open the restaurant that's all about the itis, and it's that feeling you get Marky full workies too.
Yeah.
How lekker would it be, hey, just to chow, get grilled, fall back, wake up the next day, or
Nice.
someone fucking carry you to the Uber. So definitely when it comes to complexes, it's tricky, you
Yeah.
know. But like Joe says, an issue could also be growing gas, you know, because that smell can also be offensive to some people. Terpy F.
In the morning, you wake up in the
Yeah.
morning, there's plants outside. That's just gonna waft in your windows. It's always smelly in the mornings.
So yeah, know your rights, eh? Charles, you said there was a case or something about this.
Yeah, I don't have too much details because there's so many cases still going on. But it's, I'm not sure if it is exactly a precedent, but it's the first time this happened, and one of our lawyers went and took representations, which are court documents that explain your case, and they were accepted by the court, and they've removed the case. Now, I know there's a difference between striking the case and dismissing it. I'm not sure how these things work, but I will look into it, and we're going to put out possibly a blog post on it, because it does pertain to everybody.
So I'm going to sum this up with basically the last quote in the article. This chick really nails it though. There's a part of it that would involve the goodwill of your neighbour, and certainly the way you approach things will play a role.
Yeah.
That's
So-
the most important.
Always.
This is it
Yeah,
may
sure,
undeniably create friction. Be love thy neighbour, hopefully he'll love you back. And also be careful of escalating as well, because
Thank you.
you may be on the wrong side of this.
Well, if you're living in a complex and you are got possession of cannabis, I would not make any cut with your neighbours.
Yeah.
Simply because you don't know who your neighbour is, like you're saying. And look, we all want this not to have to happen.
No,
but
try and keep it
just
down.
keep
you know?
it down. Keep your peace, because I'm telling you
bomb.
now, if you just keep it peaceful, you'll
Smoke a
smoke.
bomb rather.
You'll smoke
Yeah.
forever. Make shit,
Educate them as
and you're
well.
gonna have shit.
You're gonna keep moving.
They're gonna come and they're gonna
Yeah.
knock on your door and they're gonna say no, this guy, and they're gonna say this guy's a pesky oak. He doesn't like to talk about blah blah fish
and
paste.
then they see your tent or
Whatever it might be, and there's
The
just a
little one
hassle
in the
for you.
kitchen.
So
It's the same when it comes to dealing with the police. If you are in an arrest situation, no matter what the case is, you have to try and remain polite and keep calm.
Yeah.
So the moment that you lose your cool, then they're going to abuse that.
well, up until the point where they actually start opening the case.
Yeah, you have to know your rights
If they
as
haven't
well, because you
opened the
need to
case
know
yet,
what the
then
police
they're
do
just
wrong.
speaking, and then basically, but the moment they tell you you are under arrest, put you in cuffs, read your rights, that's the moment where you need to shut the fuck up and give your lawyer a chance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because also you don't want to be scoring own goals, dude.
Yes.
You
That's
know,
the thing.
You know, it could be a real fuck
you need to
up,
be
eh?
smart about this also, not just loose cannons and just
Yeah.
fucking lose your mind.
Yeah,
Be
know
smart
your
about
rights,
it.
know your rights, know
And be
your
calm,
rights.
calm and collected.
So,
Calm and collected. That's all you got to
And
do.
you can't be calm if you don't know your rights, because if you don't know your rights,
Then, yeah.
there's fear. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know
Maybe
what's
what
the
you should do is get
limits of the
together with a
situation.
group of friends and practice raid procedures and roadblock procedures with each other. One can be good cop, bad cop vibe, and the other one can be.
Roleplay.
Osifa, how's you doing?
Hey, pothead.
I would laugh at my mates trying to do that.
Yeah. Pothead, bad cop.
I think
That's-
just
that's what it
read,
is.
go online. There's a whole lot of documents. I think there's 4 documents that has been outlined that you should print and at least have available at all times, and just read them and understand them so that you're not caught unawares. That's the main thing. That is the main thing.
Yeah. You know, and be prepared. Maybe like Joe says, in a way, maybe play the scenario at least through your head a few times. Don't get fixated on it and live 100 parallel universes.
Watch other guys.
But watch other
on
guys.
YouTube.
There we go.
Yeah,
Watch them speak to the police when they're in the right, and then you know exactly
That's
where
it.
you can tread.
yeah, it's easier than
Familiarize
ever.
yourself with
That's
this process, even if you don't want to be
Get the
familiar
wording
with it.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, if you're in a complex, your tunes shouldn't be too loud, and apparently your gas shouldn't be too loud.
Yeah, it sucks.
So, guys, please remember to vote in this week's Zol poll. Is pothead offensive? Definitely, kinda, no. Our next topic in CBDNN is 70's weed was shit. So this was an article in WikiLeaf that while undoubtedly it contained THC, it pales in comparison to anything in your local dispensary today. Hippie culture and the 1970s have become synonymous with and the revival of cannabis in the US. With free-loving music festivals and pot-fueled rock and roll, you would think that everyone was getting high as the sky on some legendary buzz. But was weed really hitting like that in the 70s? So Oaks, let's low-key speak about your Omar and your parents' weed. We know your dad smoked weed, my dad smoked weed, I don't know about yours, dads, but you know, weed was a thing, and everyone enjoyed it, and everyone loved it, but apparently now the verdict is in, 30 years later, and that weed was really cuck. In hindsight,
Yeah, but I mean, then compare it back again to like maybe the 40s weed.
Yeah, imagine what that
Maybe
was
there's
like.
the scale of improvement, and maybe the 2040s weed
Or maybe
is
it
going
went-
to be fuck-
I
who
think
knows, out of this
I think
world.
weed went 8,000 years ago. I think weed started, yeah,
Mm.
8,000 years ago in potency. And then over the next 8,000 years, until about 30 years ago, it moved like that. And I think over the last 30 years, it's done that.
It's
Yeah.
definitely technology related, and it's definitely been an art that has been refined quite a bit in the last 10, 20 years. I saw some pictures in an article about 70s weed, and the stuff looks like
Terrible.
weeds. No, not good.
That's something I'd ask for a refund back.
Do you think it's not it's technology or practices or
Everything.
It's
genetic-
everything, yeah.
um,
Remember, they've only discovered THC when was it?
In the 60s or 70s.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to think. I mean,
we're still making.
I
huge
wasn't alive then,
advances.
so I'm trying to like make this up. So now,
Like even tomatoes have evolved
Weed.
and stuff like that.
what was changing the whole time? That's a constant from then to now. We can't go with. We have to like what was the most constant? I think the
It's a
most
difficult
constant
thing to monitor
is your environment.
because weed is illegal.
Yeah, no, but yes, of course. But the biggest place where it would be. I've got a sock thief here. Would be environment. So maybe, who knows, UV levels, CO2 levels naturally, due to that changing, and environmental changes, the heat, all of that would then lead to the plant doing phenotypical changes in the environment.
So we know that things have come a long way since the 70s. We know that genetics are better, to a degree agricultural practices are better,
Yeah.
all those things. We know that it's a lot of gas that's being grown now. But if you were to think about the thing that's probably revolutionized weed the most since the 70s to now in the last 40 years, what do you think is the single biggest thing to push it ahead? Genetics, indoor practices, things like that. What's the thing that's made the greatest leap?
I think it was maybe not the hippie culture of the 70s that drove the interest into looking into cannabis and improving it.
Yeah.
Might have been that might have been the thing. That
It's a
started it
difficult
all.
thing to monitor and research
It's
because
not the
you know.
it's not the
there's-
technology, because technology is there for other practices anyway. It's not that they made that cannabis became and made the lights and trays and drippers, and nothing is from cannabis. It's all from other things.
We don't have stats because research has been illegal. You know, we can't say in the 80s they
So the
discovered this
biggest
and that.
change
We
would
don't
be
know.
either wokeness, where folks are more woke about how to make the plant grow better and have better practices, and from that you get genetic advancements because you're not choosing better just genetics. You're not just stuck in the 70s. Yes, they grew good weed, but Did they know what was the best weed?
Or what was the best situation for that weed?
Yes.
Like you were saying, tomatoes, there's gang varieties, but I don't know. They'll grow this thing like a tomato. They'll grow this thing like a milli, wet foot, dry
They say
foot.
the THC levels have gone up.
That goes up to workers. How clever are they? I mean, how much have they learned and discovered and figured out with this plant?
Could they test for cannabinoids in the 70s?
Not summer.
Not so
No,
much.
well, there
That's
were
all.
HPLCs. HPLs, I think, I'm sure they were.
Could they tell what the THC levels was?
I'm sure they
We
were.
did-
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, they had
That's
standards
been
back
in
then.
law
Yeah, they've had it.
They have
For
standards.
years already.
They
They've
could have
referred
tested
to
it.
THC for a long time.
So that's why they're saying in this article, they must have taken the stats and seen.
The
testing
70s is
seen
probably
it.
the oldest stats we have, because in the 60s they probably couldn't test for it, could they?
I would have been surprised. I would have been surprised if anyone was testing per se.
No, back then
But
they
another-
would just, if it was
Or
hemp or
just-
cannabis, they would just cut it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. There was no ground to stand on to argue anything. So,
Another factor to consider possibly is that maybe people started getting braver and braver, and grows didn't have to be hidden out in the backwoods somewhere 3 days hike away. And as they got braver and braver and got their grows closer and closer to home, they could take better care of them.
Well,
Nutrients,
And learn
if you
more.
think about
care.
this whole strain hunting and breeding, and it takes years to develop a strain and to make sure you find the one that has the best, traits, etc. It's been a long time for them. They've had to go through years and years. So you think about the stuff that you're getting in your seed banks now. That's a joke compared to what they essentially were working with. They were working with the OGs, like the Afghans, the Thai, there was
They
certain
had a lot
skunks.
less
They
variety.
had a lot less variety, which they had to then work through a lot more and find those
Magic spots.
that's it, and then
crossbreeds
put those
and
together. And that
hybrids.
doesn't happen in a month. It happens over years and years and years. And now those kind of years are 20 years, 30 years, and that's
how
where we
long
are
would it
now.
take them to
So that's what I'm saying. So 20
Get away
years
from
is
the
going to take you
poisonous
to
danger.
really
Yeah.
work through the line of finding higher, because now they're finding.
Because they had to
certain
figure it
strains-
out by trial and error to an
Yes.
extent. Because I know we're saying they
Yeah.
were HBLCs, but it's
But
not
they
like
didn't have it,
Oaks
exactly,
were
yes.
fucking rocking up there in the 70s saying, "Hey, Mr. DEA, will you test my scale?" Maybe some Oaks deliberately got bust, Loki, and let our Oak get bust.
And they didn't know that they were getting higher THC plants, but rather they looked more frosty, whatever it might have been. Like now, they're making discoveries of 35% or whatever it is. I don't even know what the number is now, but they're so high, such high numbers that they're only discovering now. But that's because of the advancements of technology, breeding, practices, knowledge, all of that.
Soil treatment.
Everything,
Everything.
everything that we are putting to the plant is making it better.
The sum
I'm
of
sure
the
it happens in
equation.
all of agriculture. Tomatoes, carrots, apples, every single thing
Yeah.
was shit. Well, not shit, just it was.
less consistent?
Now it is superfruit,
Now every
superfood,
meal is
super
the same.
There's so much
everything.
information everywhere on the internet for everybody all the time.
And natural evolution of the plant, maybe. It's also
Wasn't it
bettering
carrots were
itself.
black or something originally?
I don't know if
Yes,
you
I
can
think
say
it was
that,
something
Joe.
like
No, I think I read an
And they did
article
something about
somewhere,
making it
and
orange,
allegedly,
yes.
yeah. I remember reading an article
Carrots are black and
that they were
apples will
originally
cut.
black, and then they
That's my
bred the black out of it to make them orange, to make it look more appealing.
And peas were originally yellow instead of green.
I can believe it, dude. But I think something that we're all overlooking here, though, is yes, we know it's definitely gotten stronger, but other than it being stronger, the thing I would appreciate most in a bud is I bet it tastes a hell of a lot better, bro.
And it looks a
Yeah.
lot better, and everything is a
It
lot
smokes
better.
better.
Go into on any history channel, any history page, and type in 70s weed. It looks like bushweed.
Yeah,
It looks
it's
like
not
straight
nuts. They're not
Yeah, but quick
separate
question,
nuts. They're
is that
this
weed that
very.
they've been storing since the 70s, is it a nowadays photo? Or were those photos taken in the 70s?
I think it was on 70s Instagram.
It looks like untrimmed majat.
Yeah, no, I've seen the picture. I just suddenly thought, I was like wondering if that was old.
And lots of varieties of it. It's like 8 different.
But also, I think you brought up
untrimmed
something very important just now. Also, is that people are scared to even bring forward their cannabis. So that cannabis that they were testing was ditchweed. It was weed that was found on the side of the road, or it was just grown in a, like as an it was grown. It was
There's some names, but it's not really.
Well, there it is. Yeah, there it is. There.
Guerrero, Thai,
Oh, okay.
Panama.
Guerrero Gold, Oxycontin.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say is, yes, those are the strains, but when they acquired that bud, was that bud that they acquired from a ditchweed or a grower
That's
that
another
put
thing.
all the effort into it?
Yeah,
Because
from
there
a
might have
raid.
been in the back door oaks that were growing,
Gorilla.
the dankest fucking tied.
Maybe one or two
on
of
the
those are
planet.
really good, and the rest is like.
Could be a combo of
Could
digital
be.
and
Substandard.
raid.
We don't know.
Yeah, those could be raids, that could be just, it could be a whole lot of stuff where they get that.
Well, they say that some of it has been just confiscated by the police.
There we
Yeah.
go.
They kept it for samples.
They say it could be him. Well, I guess some of it could be him, because Oaks wouldn't have known.
They
eh?
would not have known anything. That's it.
Wouldn't know.
So guys, tell us what you think in the comments, man. What do you
Where we
think drag things along?
I'm on,
Yeah.
I'm
YouTube.
on Facebook.
Should we do some eyes quick before we get
Yeah.
on to the next DVD edit, eh?
On Facebook, I want to say how's it to Leonard and Andrew and Kubis and Otsile and Grant. How's it, guys?
YouTube, we aren't anywhere. Well, we've just launched our new channel. What is it? Hotbox Show.
Hotbox Show.
Do we
Well,
even
Hotbox
have a
Show-
subscriber?
I can't even
Yeah,
find it.
there's a couple
I
of,
was the,
You?
yeah,
a
there
couple
was,
of guys there.
yeah, I've
So just
subscribed.
us the link there, please.
So guys, for those of
Amber.
Okay.
Yeah.
For those of you who didn't notice, we have had to move channels. I'm not going to get too into it because the YouTube bots might not love us for it. But we didn't want to tank the Dagga couple channel, so we got into our own ecosystem. And I think we're just going to keep launching channels as long as we go because we be getting striked
Yeah,
hardcore.
we've
For
got
no
a few
reason.
strikes and we really don't want to risk all of the
For no
material
reason.
that Jules and Rutler worked so hard on.
These
so,
bots can't think, eh?
So don't tell them we're here, but like, at least you
In
guys
the
know
YouTube
we're
channel,
fine.
we've got Chatting, Ras Warren Yellerman, and Nigel Connell.
It's flies.
Ras says, make friends with your neighbours. I gave mine weed.
Yes.
Run dry through roadblocks to learn. So go find a roadblock and say, guys, where's
Yeah.
the roadblock? And go through there without any weed.
Yeah. But then you got to act like suspicious.
Yeah, you have to act suspicious.
Yeah.
And
You
play
have
the
your
part.
Rasta hat on,
Everything.
Bob Marley,
Yeah.
Blazing.
Max.
hand-rolled cigarette.
Yeah, a fake looking thing, a suspicious Tupperware that they have to really open to get in, and then it's just cake flour.
No.
Omo.
Fucked
No.
up with
No,
cake
in the
flour.
bag,
because
man,
then you
in the
need jail.
bag.
Just a sandwich.
Just a sandwich.
Not just
eh?
your weed.
Do you know what it should be? It should be a lummy sign.
Yeah, in a tin. With a camera.
Oh, Oaks.
I love it.
So, our next story in CBDNN is regarding the BFASA. You said that's
Black Farmers Association of South Africa.
high five, Joe. Now, the reason we're talking about them, this came up briefly in last week's show, is that this morning they marched on SAHPRA. And it turns out that these guys have a real SAHPRA must fall vibe going at the moment. Have you, Charles, you spoke highly of it. We didn't go, we were all working in that. But you'd said you'd read a bit about it and seen what their vibes were.
Yeah, they have quite a mouthful to say. We'll upload the PDF with a brief of the event this week, probably onto Fields of Green. But yeah, they have a whole lot of reasons why they are opposed to the license system and how it was implemented and how it is used.
And the corruption behind it.
Yeah, and the corruption behind it, and also the capture attempt and
Yes.
the whole pump and dump vibe of the whole thing. We've always smelt that these licenses are a little bit off, and now it seems they really are rotten. So I don't know if there's a court case tied to this. Do you guys know?
And look, what they were marching, the purpose of the protest from their press release is to highlight...
Was today.
Yeah. This was to highlight serious maladministration of the cannabis license issuing. They say that access to licenses by black people has been denied or obstructed in favour of issuing licenses to foreign big pharma companies. So there's improper or unlawful conduct by employees on the board of SAHPRA. They're ignoring the requirement of BEE parameters to be enforced. Generally just, yeah.
There's a whole lot
And
of
they're not happy with
accusations, eh?
SAHPRA. No, they-
A whole list.
And
a lot
we
of
do
exclusion.
know
Lot of
that the Hawks
exclusion.
are investigating the SAHPRA.
And it
for
makes
corruption.
absolutely no sense that they are not helping the local communities get these things and work with them, but instead of pumping it into the foreigners.
Yeah,
it
look
doesn't
what's
make
happening
any
in
sense.
Lesotho. They're using the water from the small communities where people walk kilometers
Yeah.
every day to get just enough water to live. These companies are using the water
And it's
in Lesotho.
foreigners that are going there essentially
The
out
wheat
of their
growers.
country
That's it.
to another country
Yeah.
and use the resources as they please and not give back to the community.
So
or
it's
at least
human rights
involve them.
violations right there.
Yeah.
It's
You know what it is?
So, yeah.
It's kind of like there's terms like in the movie industry, sexploitation, blaxploitation, and things like that. And I think we're seeing it with cannabis, that people are so desperate to get into it that they're almost naive to an extent. And I'm not saying these people
Yeah.
it's even a choice. These people
Yeah.
need the fucking jobs and that.
Yeah.
But you maybe they fall into that stoner stereotype. They think, oh, they're going to be cool people, you know, they're going to be irie and that.
They weren't consulted, and they say they were better off before the corporations arrived.
Yeah.
If that doesn't say it all,
My
That's
whole mission is they still pay them minimum wage, which is pointless.
Yeah.
Okay, so why This is the whole thing. Everyone wants to just slot cannabis into the normal industry. But the normal industry is fucked.
It's not working, yeah.
The way
It's
they
not-
treat the workers is not right.
This
It should be
plant
better. We should
will
be
We need
definitely
to
legalizing.
not
empower
just
the
melt
existing
into
industry.
This fake thing that man has created. It's here to mess all these things up. That's why people like SAHPRA and those people, they're trying to box it in. Put it back in the box. But you can't do that. It's out now. We have science.
That's it.
We
We
know.
have science on our side.
No, the research
So,
is done.
I
It's
mean-
done. It's finished. The results are there. We've got proof. The only research that needs to be done now is to refine the medicine side of cannabis.
But the
the
problem is that
research shows that
these
it's
people
safe
come
enough
in,
to
they pay their minimum
legalize.
wage. They don't really change anything. I know some people, they were to wash over the cops, giving them basically free. They had to just repave the taxi rank and give the police soccer team new jerseys.
Sure.
So I mean, who are you helping there? You know, you're not really helping anyone besides the people who are in that meeting. That's really
Big thing. They're saying, yeah. So they're saying, yeah, there's gang corruption at SAHPRA and all that. But the real thing they're bringing up is that the barriers to entry for this cannabis thing excludes them.
Yeah.
And
Excludes
they-
everybody.
they-
These
they-
companies are going to run a loss for 10 years.
They have
How's
no
anyone
control.
going to be able to stand next to that?
Yeah.
They're laying out 100 million rand just for building.
Million rand. Do you
Just
think
for
people
building
just have that lying around? Even
structure.
big corporations. They
And
just have that
we
to
still
do.
get phone calls at Fields of Green every day that ask us,
Yeah.
where can we buy seeds and where can we get an offtake agreement? Because that's the two pieces of the puzzle that SAHPRA don't explain to you when you want a license. And these people don't know. They're out there in the wild trying to solve it. How can we buy seeds if cannabis is illegal to trade?
Exactly.
It's fucked up.
They also
No,
took
you
time
can
to
import
highlight police
So-
arresting and harassing indigenous populations when it is now legal to grow. at
Stealing
home.
the food off the table.
And Finance Minister Tito Mboweni expects the new legal cannabis industry to pour in an estimated 4 billion into the government's tax coffers and to unlock rural economy. This cannot be done while there is strict and costly bureaucratic red tape preventing most people from participating.
And arrests.
Is this another rush to corporate capture?
It looks like it.
Again,
right
how
now.
is a village in the middle of nowhere going to compete? They have the land, they have the space, they have the valley. They're already growing.
And
They have the labour.
Have the
They should be
labour,
able to
They're
Yeah.
doing
own
it. They are the
They have the
existing
labour.
industry.
They are ready.
Yeah.
They are the industry. They just need to be legitimized.
The hurdle is too high.
It's
And you
ridiculous.
have to wear a fancy uniform. You can't come running. You can't run this race barefoot. Why? Why can't I run this race barefoot? Let that dude run in his Nikes. I want to do it barefoot.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that?
Maybe you benefit.
If I fall, then I fall. You know,
Yeah.
I chose to run the race. So I just feel like the way they
Gee my kalfvoet dag af.
pushing for this high capital input, you know, and making that a requirement at the end of the day.
All that they have to do is they have to allow the farmer that works on his field, in his crop, in his land, on his property, to grow the crop under certain guidelines and certain regulations.
Sell
where
it
says
to the hub.
You can't use poison on this. You can't use sewage on this. That is basic GMP. I mean GAP. Good agricultural practices. Just don't use bad to feed it, and don't cover it in poisons.
Food grade.
And when it's
Yeah.
ready, you do X and you bring it to the depot. If it passes whatever, there's a
Yeah.
grading, it'll go for extraction, or if it's really good, like the indoor stuff, it'll go south. Allow them to do it.
Yeah. Get it
Why
to a
not?
hub and it
Why
gets
not do
into
it? It's
Canada.
the
Canada
There
easiest
will
way
be tons of
to
cannabis
empower
grown for
everybody.
oil extraction by outdoor farmers that will be able to produce high quality cannabis
And
for you.
take money
And
straight
if there's
into the
an avenue for
communities.
these guys to make money, they will educate themselves so fucking quickly,
And empower
and they will
themselves.
show every farmer that they know. They will go and they'll say, listen,
They'll go to start teaching
they'll
our
talk
master
to,
growers.
they'll
if
go
they want
to every other farm. They say, this is not how you do it. This is how you do it. If you do it right, my friend,
People
you're
will
going to
learn
make money
quickly
to
if
feed
they're
your
not
family.
arrested
As
all
soon
the
as they
time.
know that, they'll be like, we'll do this correctly. We are not lazy in South Africa to do it right. They want to do it right to make money.
We just want to be allowed.
But thank you.
Just let us.
We're just not allowed to do it.
Just stop throwing
Take
us
the
in
police
cages
away
and
from
let
it.
us.
Exactly.
Take the police and
we have
SAHPRA out of
the
it.
ability to take over, but they
Yeah.
are shooting themselves in the foot because they want all the money for themselves.
4 billion is a joke.
This
4 billion
controversial
rand is a
cannabis
joke.
bill,
It's
you know, this
nothing.
bill was written by the Justice
Chump change,
Department.
man.
Should be written by the Agriculture Department,
Exactly.
So, Charles,
not the Justice Department.
you hit on a very valid point here, is that SAHPRA is definitely feeling the burn of being the bottleneck. I feel like there should be other departments that these guys, I'm not here to say what they must do, I respect what they've done, but maybe there are other departments that should be marched on. Even if
Almost
they're
all
not
of them.
involved, they should be marched on because they should be involved.
Cannabis pertains to 21, I think, government departments.
Yeah.
almost all of them should be involved. Not one, not two, almost all of them.
But also we don't need to. I can be a lazy guy and choose the path of least resistance sometimes. And when I look at this whole puzzle, what I see is we don't really need to change much. Let the people who are doing it the way they're doing it do it without getting their doors kicked in. If an oak wants to buy a Pippy 2 Rand stop, that's cool. I got no objections. But
why
maybe
not?
for the oaks who want to spend a 50 and 100, I think we are so woke as a civilization now in society that we can regulate it ourselves. If there's an oak that's going to have a listeriosis, I'm not going to buy his ganja, you know? If I'm going to spend 150, I, as a person, I don't give a fuck what the law says. I don't give a fuck what the blue spider mite says. But if just allow what's informal to be, and what can formalize from that will formalize.
They're not necessarily gunning to be in the shop selling on your shelf, but they would like to provide biomass for a
Whatever purpose.
because they can grow hemp all fucking day long if they want to. They can grow CBD high strains or THC high strains that'll be extracted in a GMP environment and made sure that it's food safe and safe, medical safe. And
Those people won't waste their time with dirty stuff.
Yeah.
No,
Exactly.
they won't. Because all they have is to
There's
make
already-
it perfect. They
There's
can't
already
fuck
quality
around.
control gates set ahead for this or most things to follow. They don't need a new thing or
A
make
big
it super,
plan.
Make it super science.
Yeah, man.
If you want to go super science, there's guys ready to do it.
Yeah, man.
So-
And I promise you, you'll get your fucking van. You'll get your
They will.
slice.
They will, yeah, they will.
Everyone will willingly pay you
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
How much must we put on now? 15%?
Because I can tell you this
Tell
much.
us how much.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We'll put it. Fagalo.
within reason. Because also we don't want to tax ourselves into a
you
hole.
don't
Yeah.
Because,
You're gonna tax ourselves straight back into the black market.
yeah, no, we need to be pragmatic. So, all the best with these oaks. I genuinely, I hope they had an impact. I'm not sure what the result was of the
I've
march.
seen
We've
some
seen
videos
footage.
of the march and it looked really cool. It was just a typical stoner march. There was singing and there was dancing. There
Banners.
there was banners. The traditional THO was there, Traditional Healers Organization.
Yeah.
Saw a lot of them supporting today. I saw Russ Tao leading the way, singing. It was beautiful. It's just so beautiful, so peaceful.
And they handed over a letter to SAHPRA.
Yeah, and there was. It looked like there were a few hundred, maybe a couple of hundred people there,
Yeah.
which is good.
It was good. And you know, it's good to hear there's more fire because, as I said last week, we started at the beginning of the story, hey?
Yeah.
But SAHPRA's definitely feeling the burn.
Yeah, they must.
Big time, hey? It's time for other players to get involved, and I hope we can see beyond SAHPRA because they're
Yeah.
a cut first step, but they're just the beginning.
Fields of green for all, not fields of green for those with licenses.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. And especially at the
Those who can run
exclusion
a
of
last
others.
15 years.
Yeah, man.
Employ 200 people if they're lucky. Because that other facility in Cape Town as well, 40 people or something. What?
Yeah,
40 people from the local community is going to get jobs.
and all they're
One
doing,
facility.
they're giving the currently with the
And that's just
license
the start.
thing
Minimum wage.
minimum
Yeah.
wage. Bro.
Minimum wage though.
And pay them in red riz.
Are they trying to technologize?
Yeah, well
Overtake
obviously they said
Overtake.
yeah, it's just
Look, I mean, okay, look, at the end of the day, yes, minimum
it's not an
wage.
easy thing,
but it's a
the
job,
way
but it's-
some people have done it so far,
Mm.
atrocious.
Mm.
Yeah, and it's terrible to see the big guys fail because you've got it easy right now. You've got so much money in your pocket and you've been given a 75-meter head start in the 100-meter sprint. So don't fuck up. Be cool. But yeah, guys, this needs to be more inclusive. There can't be head starts. Yes, maybe for certain historical issues there should be head starts, but I'm
Yeah.
not going to touch on that. But it feels like we've got our head starts, our priorities the wrong
The
way.
head starts shouldn't be the big international companies that could actually afford to employ hundreds of people instead of trying to keep it to a
To the
minimum.
minimum, yeah. It's just strange.
Yeah, and there's no community upliftment with that at all.
So, Buzz, do you have the Haze Club story on your CBDNN list?
Not yet. I'm not sure
Okay,
if it's public.
this is very juicy news, okay?
And we did a
Schindler's,
blog about it today.
Schindler's released, did a press release on the Haze Club bust,
Ooh.
and Fields of Green just published a blog on it like an hour or two ago.
Wow.
It'll go out on social media after the show.
And what's it about?
It's about the Haze Club being bust, and they
Schindler's have offered to assist
Schindler's
their
offered to pro
attorneys.
bono join their case to defend
Okay.
them. Because they're in Cape Town, Schindler's are up here in Joburg, Melrose Arch. So
Because I don't want to get boring here, but I know people fundamentally see the difference between a Dagga private club and a Dagga growers club. And I think people are saying that's what makes them slightly different, but it's good to hear they've got skin in the game. It's good to hear that Schindler's are involved.
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah,
Very good.
there are more variations. There's also a care club. So there's a few versions of a private club.
Yeah.
Marlene just did a blog post on that as well. Her presentation videos there on our site.
Oh, I watched it this morning. It's brilliant, eh?
Mm,
Brilliant.
touched
Do
my
yourself
heart.
a favour. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
she's
I
so
watched it.
driven. She's got all the ducks in a row, eh?
Cool. So guys, you can go check that out at Fields of Green. Yeah, there's a lot going down. We all did it. We did an episode 2-3 episodes ago where we suspected it was the bust in Cape Town, the Haze Club, and it seems to have now officially come out that the Haze
Ottery.
Club were bust
Yeah.
in Ottery
It's the
in
one.
Cape Town.
It's
The
way.
blue spider might set them. Yeah, guys. So, guys, before we get on to this week's Growing with My Buds, please remember to vote in the Zol poll. Is pothead offensive? Definitely. Kinda. Nope. In this week's Growing with My Buds, vertical cannabis farming. Vertical farming is the future for many crops, but is it really the future for cannabis? We're going to go deep on the do's and don'ts. Dan, what's vertical farming and why should I care?
Well, if you live in a smaller place, small apartment, or if you have limited space, then you should care. But luckily we're in South Africa and we have lots of space most of the time.
Most of the time.
So it doesn't really affect us. But
But then, no, there are hundreds and thousands of people who want to grow cannabis that are stuck in these complex apartment, estate,
yeah.
flat, townhouse vibes.
Or they live in
Seas
townships.
of those, yeah.
So I mean, there's, vertical farming is not just about cannabis growing. It's basically growing plants vertically, and the reason why people started doing vertical farming is obviously due to space constraints. So they need to maximize the amount of plants growing in a certain area. It's not something old. It's actually quite new. Well, there were the gardens of Babylon where they had the vines growing up, from what I've seen, and that was where they were things were growing up, and that was classified as a vertical garden.
So
But-
you're saying it's a bit like when you have too many kids and you live in a small flat and you have to start buying double bunks,
Kind of, exactly.
but for your plants.
So for your plants, exactly like that. So let's go with different types of vertical farming. So there's vertical farming which is stacked farming. So like double bunks, but using as an example, where you've got your layers of plants, where every layer would then have lights above it, and feeding each layer every layer would be very small. So you don't need to take so much headspace for every layer of growing. Then you get another type of growing, which is a vertical. It's basically called a vertical plane production. What that is you're growing.
Like those towers, eh?
Yeah, so you're growing
Is
in
that how they grow
towers rather.
vegetables in these places?
They do.
seen
So mainly
Europe?
what you're growing with this is leafy greens because they're small
Yes.
and light. And so the second way is these towers where you're not making them horizontal trays, you're making them vertical trays, and the plants grow out of them.
At an
Like a
angle.
long pot.
Like a long pot that just grows out of it. It's quite cool. Looks like a pipe and the pots just grow out of it, or a tube and they grow
And
out
that
of it.
angle, does it help the plants to yield more?
Well, no, if they grow the same, they grow really well because they've got a lot of light all around them. Because firstly, they are now
Suspended.
being lit up more. They're a bit more suspended, so there's not just light directly above them. They're getting light from all angles pretty much.
So,
But it's also for square meterage coverage.
That's a big thing.
So
also.
square
square meters.
You can
So you're
increase
using the
your
same
farm's
foot there.
space footprint as more than it is like it is now. So basically, what's happening is our farming space is becoming less and less and less because people are becoming more and more and more. And the only way we can now grow is by going up.
Yeah.
And to do that, you can go into say a building and you can go vertically. Every floor of that building can become a hectare farm. Can be put into say a 200 square meter footprinted 5-story building. You know, that's the kind of thing. So it's just a way of producing more plants in a very small area. But you're not going to be planting vines. You're not going to be planting anything that's bigger than a shrub. They'd usually use for leafy greens, so lettuce, any bok choy.
So autos.
Clones and autos.
No, not autos.
No,
Yes, no.
they would grow because an auto would grow
Yes.
massive
Oh,
inside
fuck
there
that
actually
shit
because
up.
you wouldn't ever move it and it would just
Mm.
yeah they would actually go pretty big.
Oh, okay.
Clones
Okay.
is better for that.
But that being said, we're not saying we're not to use it in cannabis. So this is mainly used for vegetables. But now, if you were to go into cannabis growing, what happens is you do your 3 or your 2 layered shelves where you use LEDs because you can't use HID lighting, so you'd
Yeah.
use LED lighting, and then you'd stack them. Then you'd be able to grow double the amount of plants that you would essentially if you
But
had used one level.
you wouldn't put huge sativas in that tower, would you?
Again,
You'll
very
stick
short
with it.
plants and scrog them and keep them very young and small. So you wouldn't
Short
be vegging
cycle.
your plants for 6 weeks at all. You'd be going to like 2-3 weeks of veg or 4 weeks of veg maximum, and then flipping them over.
No, not even.
Even less, way
Yeah.
less, way less. It's
Couple
like
of
such a
days.
small. It's such a small amount. If you've got
Yeah.
a meter of space per shelf, you really are keeping your plants
And that's
compact.
definitely
And
only
that's probably
indoor.
the plant's finishing bag.
Yes, only indoor because you have to.
So-
Do you have a
you
small
to supplement
backyard?
light. You have
Oh,
to
you need the
supplement
light.
light. You have to because, well, what you have to do is you have to supplement light and you have to oxygenate it all the time. Because not oxygenated, your CO2 levels will drop inside the canopy because it's so
Pressure.
densely packed.
Ah, yes.
So that's
Okay,
it.
yeah,
You need
that
light
makes
and
sense.
CO2 inside there.
I've seen oaks do vertical gardening outside, and like a real idiot, I should have taken a picture because I've got a vertical garden, my lettuce,
Yes.
outside. We've got 3 rows of lettuce in gutters, suspended like a Kef bridge, and salad greens, and it's hoying, eh? So definitely for your short crops, but in a cannabis context, where I've noticed people do the vertical setups mostly is when they've got their seeding cloning in veg areas.
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't need to take up all this space for your
Yes,
clones.
yes.
I've seen oaks put the shelves and the fluorescents or the
Yeah,
LEDs.
yeah.
That's vertical gardening in my eyes.
That's it. That is vertical gardening. That's a great way to do vegetating in a small space. So you can have your clones and your mother and your vegetation in literally in a shelf.
Yeah, it's like a bookshelf of your weed in its different stages of evolution.
Yeah.
But just to give you an idea, like if you look at that picture on the right there, folks, in that floor space, you would have been able to grow 2 or 3 plants. You're seeing 20 plants in the same floor space. So like Boomschlang was saying, yeah, it's about optimizing your square meterage. You know?
But the one thing about this is it might, you so you have to put a lot of equipment into this, and with a lot of equipment comes a lot of capital. It costs a lot of money to go vertical. So that's the one prohibiting thing, is that it's going to cost you a lot of money to really go vertical
commit.
properly and go committed with everything that you need, your environmental control, your feeding systems, your lighting, everything, because you don't want to be going into the second or third shelf and trying to water plants that are 3 plants in a bit every single day. You know, it's not, it can't be like that. It has to be fully automated, essentially. Everything has to be automated.
You've got to know what you're doing.
You do. You
So-
definitely do.
Is it applicable even then so much to cannabis? Let's say I had the money. Let's say I was stupid. I came. I said, Dan, I want to spend a few bar, but at the only condition, vertical.
Well,
Would you try and convince me otherwise?
It could be a selling
I
angle.
would
We've got
definitely
this
try and
vertical
convince you
butt.
otherwise. If you have the floor space, you don't need to go vertical, and then it saves you on a lot of things. If you do
Okay.
not have the floor space, then we have to go vertical,
Because vertical is double.
and then we do it.
Vertical
Double.
is double.
Yeah.
It's double.
It's going to cost you more.
Double or
actually,
triple,
actually
because
more,
it
yeah,
depends,
because
you
need
know,
more
I've-
airflow now.
We've built shelves that are 3 levels high that have
Yeah.
3 sets of clones, and we've had
Lots of fans.
shelves that are 2 levels.
Lots
So
of
it
fans.
depends on what your requirement would be, but it costs a lot of money at the end of the day.
So
It's
I
more
only
and more.
lives in a 3rd floor in a flat who's got a little balcony,
Mm.
wouldn't be able to hang up a little vertical garden
No, it's not
baggy
about
setup
it's
thing.
about them growing vertically. It's about putting the plants above each other and managing the light and the water off.
Because you can buy a
run off.
tower like this,
And you
just
can
put
do
it in the
anything you
corner
want.
of your stoop.
Probably will
Oh,
need,
yeah.
need a
You've got
ladder,
one like
eh?
that.
I've got one like that.
Yeah, from
Yeah,
Greenthumb.
I got it from Greenthumb.
Yeah.
Because if those ones at the top grow up, you're going to need a ladder to get up there. And tend to
Depends.
them.
No, the tower, even
It
at
stands
the
about
6
2 meters,
Yeah.
2.2
Yeah,
meters
it's
about
like a
high.
roof.
You can reach the
Yeah.
top ones. Those towers there that you see on that picture there that go around. You know, I think if you were to take clones and put them in that thing at a certain time and flower them out immediately, it could work. It could
Because
definitely
You're gonna
work.
get something.
You're gonna get something. I mean, it's not designed
look
to
like
grow
a flower
cannabis. Cannabis is
arrangement.
not designed to grow in these.
In
kind
what
of-
medium?
It's just a
No,
hydro tower.
there is no
right?
medium. It's
It's
all
hydroponic.
hydroponics.
It's hydroponics.
Or
Okay.
aquaponic. Yeah, it's just a grow tower.
So the most extravagant version I've seen of this
Hmm.
is in a Jorge Cervantes book, where it was a suspended light in the middle and the vertical garden built around it,
Yeah.
like a washing
To-
machine slope.
Yes.
and then
That's with the
true,
tube in the middle.
It's a true
yeah, it was
stoner,
like putting the sun in the middle of the universe.
true stoner invention, and I say stoner in the most brilliant way
Yeah,
because
yeah.
It's only
it is
stoner
honestly
who would
what
think
they
of it.
did is they're the
Yes,
only
yes.
people that built it. It is a system that is like a massive drum,
Yeah.
and on the inside of the drum you open the door up and you walk inside the drum, and around the outside of the drum are potholes, and you put your pots around the outside, and it's got drippers that you stick into every single pot, and then in the center there's a cool tube with 2,000 watt lights in the middle, and you close the door and the thing just turns by itself and it just grows. Your plants grow in the center of this tube,
So
essentially.
these guys pull Dank out of it.
So they're just like this cool invention. I mean, it's
It's like an inverted grow. It's cool, and
is
so-
it
is
yeah.
it worth it? Not
Yeah.
necessary for the oak who wants to just go to Greenthumb or Builders or whatever.
It costs a bit to set it up,
Yeah.
right?
For the guys who take it to the max, I think some guys get to the point where like, yeah, I only got 5 grams per watt this harvest. I think I want to take it up
Yeah,
to
I know.
10 grams.
Yeah.
And then they get that optimum situation, more shits and giggles. But definitely check it out. The do's and don'ts though. Let's say you do a vertical garden for your scaphies and your townhouse, or you've even got one of those ones, you know, it's the wooden thing and the wooden thing and the wooden thing, the builders or side of the road special.
Oh, yeah, the pellet ones.
Like, what would you say if I were going to do that, or were my only option and I wanted to piss off my neighbours and grow some gas with vertical gardens all around my townhouse thing?
Well, if you're going with those, you're going to need to grow. Well, if you've got shelves, you're not going to grow big plants.
Okay.
First of all, so you're going to use the shelves to your cloning and your vegetating. Put the plants on top if you want.
Make sure they're on your property.
I'm sure they're on your property.
That's a good one. Make sure it's on your
Soil,
property.
soil
Make sure it's on your
automation,
property.
things like that, because a vertical garden, I have realized, is a high maintenance garden. Whereas where you have a big pot or something, you know, you put the thing, it can hold water for ages. Vertical gardens are so lean in a way,
Yes.
they're so optimized that they do require automation.
Yeah. Generally, they do.
Power.
They generally require
Needs power.
a full drip system in every single pot so that it can be fed. Because you know, with a vertical system, you want to put. The whole point of going vertical now is because you need to put many plants in a small space. You wouldn't do this if you didn't have to put that many plants. You just put them on a table and then save the issue.
Yeah.
So then again, you have to have multiple. Every single plant has to have a dripper and it has to be fed and it has to be controlled. So yes, full control.
And you got to monitor it all the time.
Well, that comes from a tank that has to be then that costs more money because your tank can't just be plain water because that's not what you feed cannabis. You don't just feed it plain water. In this situation,
Yeah.
Especially
Gonna
you
have
need
to
to
have
add all
because
this
you're going to
stuff.
be in cocoa. It's going to be in cocoa, or it's going to be in rock wool, or it's going to be in hydroton. It's not going to be in a
It's going to take
soil pot.
plumbing to engineer the piping.
So it's a lot of
Plumbing,
things.
bro.
It's
Yeah.
it's a lot
Plumbing
of,
is a real
like I said, it's a lot of cost that didn't come in this.
Yes.
You're
Yeah.
talking about bars when you want to go into this route. Obviously, there's you got to think
Yeah,
about: is it
doing
worth me going
10,000
double
squares,
story or going vertical in my double garage, or not? Because sometimes it's not worth that kind of money to do it when you can do it properly. You know?
Okay.
And like you guys said, add so many more moving pieces, like you start saying plumbing, electric, more airflow.
And yeah,
All
Once
that
you put
shit.
obstacles in the room,
Kiss
the
your
airflow
holidays
goes down.
goodbye.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but as opposed to having a tent,
As opposed to having a tent, but I see the Oaks put a shelf in a tent
yeah.
for their clones and stuff.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
they are
I've
low-key
seen that.
vertical gardeners, eh?
I started growing vertically, I think, when I first started growing, actually. My first growing was vertical growing. Why was that? Because I used to grow in my cupboard at home. I used to have
A
my
shelf in
veg,
it.
and I had my plants on the bottom and a plant on the top and some clones on the top.
Mm.
That essentially is vertical growing.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
like a very, very, very primitive
Yeah.
version, but it is
Yeah.
vertical growing. I
So
didn't-
maybe it's more, because for a moment there I thought you were going to say, fuck vertical gardening, it's not for Mary Jane, next topic. But in hindsight, now that you say that, mine one was also something like that in a cupboard, things stacked on top of each other, because you had to use the space. That's the
Yeah.
way it was. So maybe it's more relevant than we've ever known, and it will always be relevant.
It will be, because now with the technology being what it is now, and the fact that we have LEDs, we can make them. We can grow vertically. We
Yeah.
can put within this wall here. You can put 3 levels of plants growing, and they can grow and produce bud in this space here instead of just one table. You know, we can do it. Technology is going to allow us to do it.
And although we're essentially saying vertical might not be the way, except for, you know, where you have to and stack and, you know, in efficiency sense, horizontal seems to be a lot more relevant sometimes. So maybe we'll do a horizontal episode next week about bending, LST, mainlining, because while vertical may not be the future, maybe horizontal is.
Yeah, I believe It is.
We'll see.
You're more than likely.
So, folks, that was Growing With My Buds. Please remember to vote in this week's Zol poll. Do you think pothead is derogatory? No? Kind of? Definitely. Please remember hashtag Hotbox Show on the socials. It's official, there's no Instagram this week, eh? I think
Yeah.
we all decided last week it's cool, we'll check you there. But it was just trying too much time and you oats were too goofed by the end of the show there. Back home, eh?
We will still find another way to send out a prize, obviously.
We will.
We will.
So guys, this week's Weekly calendar, I think the highlight of the week, hands
Yes.
down, all of us, or at
Yeah.
least most of us, will be at GT Hydro,
Oh,
yeah.
Four Ways, Joburg, that's greenthumb.hydro.co.za, for the unveiling of their GT300 LED grow light.
Made
Yep.
in collaboration
Ta-da!
with Indoor Sun, another one of our affiliates.
Yes.
It's going to be a good day. Come get your burry, come get your beer, and come chill out. Midday till 2, I think it is.
Midday till 2, no man, that's the world's shortest party.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I'm not
Till
sure.
5.
I'll give you
It says they're from 9 in the morning. Oh.
it's
From
they-
9 in
Okay,
the
I'm
morning.
not-
During
gonna
trading
do that
hours,
live.
basically.
I don't think we'll be there from 9 Oaks because we got lives and all.
Yeah.
But I'm so stoked to see this grow light. I've seen a couple of sneak pictures of it
I
and that,
haven't
but I
seen it.
haven't touched one yet.
Mm-mm.
You touched one?
Fuck off.
I thought one of us would have touched one by
You
now.
have to go
no.
and see.
I wanted to.
I haven't seen it yet. I've tried.
Why, are
Asked
we
them
special?
twice.
Huh?
Are we
Raise it.
special or something?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
I like the art, the red and grey.
I'm looking forward to seeing it though. Apparently
Yeah.
they got all sorts of like pricey vibes and things and stuff going
Exactly. What they're
Yeah.
giving away, guys? A mothership.
A mothership.
Jesus.
For those of you-
It's the nice one.
Oh.
The mother of all
It's a
bongs.
nice one.
down. It rings so nice, I wrote a whole blog about it.
Given how the exchange rate has been really shit over the
Again.
last year,
No, it's-
last year we would have said it was a 75 grand
Yeah,
bomb.
yeah.
I think someone's about to win 100,000
Yeah.
rand dab rig.
Easy.
Oh, yeah.
Phew.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
100,000 rand. Dab.
And we still need
even-
to see if we can find someone to insure
Yeah, it
that.
is.
We never.
Recap from one of our
Yeah.
first episodes.
Should we call Outsurance again?
I've made a bond with them since dealing with the stolen car
My
issue,
way,
so
this
maybe I can actually
Explain my
get
way.
somebody.
My
human-
way, eh?
Phone him.
Highway.
Phone him.
So guys, maybe we'll try that for the mothership again. We'll make a real effort this time because last time it was raining and it was cuck. But if you guys want it, it was such a cool thing. It would be nice to do it justice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool. So guys, go check out GT Hydro online for lots of grow stuff. They're gonna have burries, tunes, free stuff. But to potentially win this 100,000 rand dab rig, you are gonna have to buy
Yeah.
one of these.
You
eh?
gotta buy a light in order to be in line to win the bowl.
It's low key Willy Wonka, hey. So
Golden ticket.
Golden tickets.
Worth
Yeah.
Worth it.
worth it because even if you don't win,
Yes.
you're winning. Because honestly, between Indoor Sun and Greenthumb Hydro and those oaks now making a baby, I think this thing's
So
gonna
you're
be
gonna go
lit
buy a
AF.
light. Maybe just go buy 2.
Yeah.
By 2,
I
hey?
think just buy 2 just for good
Hey,
measure,
maybe
guys.
there's only 5 guys who show up and buy lights.
Buy 2 each,
Yeah.
guys.
Ross
You
Warren
never know.
says, your
Double your
master skip.
chances of getting that bomb, that fabric.
Imagine.
Now,
Imagine.
do you think it would have been offended by
Hopefully-
me
I hope
calling it a
they-
bomb?
Someone walks away with it on the day,
Yes.
and we can smoke it again.
Yeah.
Okay?
Second
I
time
didn't
round.
smoke it
Oh, I
the
got
first
to
one.
miss the first one
Oh.
as well.
Yo, dude, I'm not gonna joke.
That's why I
Last
want to smoke it.
last time they had GT Hydro, when they gave away one of these things, I don't know. Shout outs to Albrew. You got more balls than I do to give these away.
Yeah.
So this dude won this thing, and he didn't even know what he'd won really. He was just so excited. Oh, one thing. We all sat there around the table like this. It was like low-key iPhone launch, PlayStation 5 launch, Black Friday Deluxe, all of us. And we all like, can someone just give this motherfucker a dab so we can each have a turn? Because it didn't feel right being first, eh?
Feels good days.
Oh, guys, we'll check you
Happy
there.
times.
Come check it out. Come get
Yeah.
grilled with us. But also, there are rules about smoking because they have neighbours,
Yes.
just like the complex situation. So I'm
Private
sure there
space.
will be a 420 friendly situation, but please don't be offensive, eh?
Hmm.
So, guys, absolute last chance to vote in this week's Zol poll. Do you find the term pothead offensive? Just a quick thank you to those who support legalization. Really, not just us, particularly Fields of Green, could not do what they do without the support of brands who put their money where their mouth is. The views on the show are just us blowing off steam. These are all very professional people in the green revolution. Grow stuff, smoke stuff, soap stuff, soil stuff, advice stuff, seeds for days, vapes for days, bongs for days, accommodation for days,
Yeah.
earthing. Joe, any new ones recently?
Not since last week, a week before last. I'm just still busy slowly catching up with the old ones and meeting the new ones and getting myself back into.
Yeah,
into
I
it.
think
I
I
was away
think
for a
there's
while.
one or two new ones that I spoke to this week that might be coming on board. You'll probably get emails, Joe.
Oh, fantastic!
Great.
Yay!
Mm.
Well, we really appreciate your support.
Yeah,
And you know, if you work for or know or own a company that wants to become an affiliate, just go to our SA affiliates page at the bottom. There's a little thingy. Click this thing to
And then you'll see all the
find
options,
out more.
yeah.
And we do a social media post share for you guys. At least once a month. There's discounted stalls at D-Day. We get to do some stuff here for you on the Hotbox. There's logos everywhere, information
and
everywhere.
all that social media stuff. And then I think one of the new guys is Scaife magazine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, that's cool.
online, their website is scaife.co, and that's it, just scaife.co.
Listen, we don't profess to be like a PR, marketing, advertising, design company. We specialize in chipping away at government, trying to make sure that we get fair regulations and human rights and evidence-based regulations. So we do what we can with our limited knowledge, but we try and make sure that stoners, that the cannabis community knows who supports fair legalization.
Yeah, man, this is low key. I know some of you oaks, you there at the KFC, you spend $500 on dunk wings, they ask you $5 to feed a child, you say, fuck the child. I know some of you oaks are like that. Jesus. Like, you say, when last did the child give me $5?
Dude.
I'm not gonna lie. I've even had my days like that, but I've put those days long behind me now. I feed the child. I know I'll never know what the child's name is, but guys, this is your chance. If you've got a business and you just wanna swing a little bucks to making Fields of Green for All, cool. But also for those who don't, you can put a $50 a month as a Fields of Green for All member.
Green Network member, yes.
49.
49 rand a month.
Yeah, man. And then also, another shout out to Fields of Green. Please remember to go support the Remembering Jewels and Cannabis Can Help SA campaign.
Yes.
There's been loads of really good donations. The money's been put to good work. I just wanted to do a couple of thank yous as well.
Now there's a new one this week.
Yeah, there's a couple of new ones in that. My first thank you, because honestly, I don't know why I don't say this. Jair, that's my biggest thank you, really,
Biggest.
bro. I hope you're well. I hope your family's well. But those who don't know, there's a guy, Jair. He certainly puts his fucking money where his mouth is. And I think we should have an interview with him soon about his cannabis museum.
Yes.
Yes.
This is some really cool
He's got some good shit.
stuff this guy's got.
Yeah, this guy has spent silly money on things we have only ever seen pictures of. Things we didn't even think were real or existed anymore.
Mythical things.
It's literally the Cannabis Museum. He
Yes.
has got yeah.
So I think that's overdue. One of us will reach out, eh?
Yep.
Big thank you to Jacqueline Briat, Louise Muller, and an anonymous. We've also got Mark Seath, Lucas Hurt, Kieran Richards, Fidel Hanneville, Bernard Fourie, Lank Anonymous, Daniela Campo Nova, if you know I forgot that right, David Fortin, Francois Oosthuizen, and the list goes on, guys. Guys, thank you very much. A part of me always feels cuck about like pulling out the squidgy and washing your window and shaking a tin at you. But really, Fields of Green.
Well, Suresh is busy writing a blog to point out how some of the money has been spent already, to show exactly the security upgrades and
Yeah.
things like that.
Now, there's
Not
some photos
exactly,
on the
we're
site.
not going to go around with cameras and say, so, you know, here's our security system complete.
He has the keys to the castle. But yeah,
Yeah, but
Things
just
have
to
been
show it's being
happening.
put to real use.
and guys, also just a shout out. I know this is also, it's about to a degree maintaining and growing Jules's dream, because
It
also
is.
it was just another chapter, and we're missing the dude a lot. And you know, again, I think you all are. We gather every Friday night to burn a candle and burn joints in honor of him. Eh? So remember Jules, because I heard a very poignant thing this week. I heard you die twice. I heard you die when you have your last breath, and you die a second time when someone says your name for the last time. You know, and I know we all have fun and hoo-ha-ha, but there is still a lot of hard work to be done. I walked in there today and there were people clicking
Keyboard
away.
warriors.
Yeah, because, you know, we talk about the complex thing and all that. Essentially, we want to have everyone's back. You know, we talk about the Black Farmers Association of South Africa as well. These guys should be included. Their voice should be more important than ours in a way.
Very
So
much so.
support them. We also have a page for all those organisations who don't have the money, who we support anyway.
Local organisations is the name of the page.
That's
That's it. Non-profits. We've got international organisations which are also non-profits and we do a lot of work with. We share a lot of ideas with. We share a lot of respect with. Yeah.
Check them out.
Go check them out.
So, guys, this week's Zol poll results.
Let's see.
Is pothead offensive? Before we give out the results, just to recap, Dan, what did you think? Pothead offensive? No, definitely, kinda?
No.
No. Joe?
Kinda.
Charles?
Depends on the context, but I'd say one should rather refrain from calling people names.
Is that a yes, no? Kinda.
Yes, no.
Things are binary,
Kinda.
Charles.
Kinda.
Guys, you?
I would say kinda, yeah.
Kinda? Nope. Kinda? Nope. Kinda? No.
And the audience says,
The audience says definitely 8%, kind of 31%,
Okay.
nope 61%.
you
Nice.
potheads.
Yes.
Nice. That's brilliant.
Your third eyes are wide open.
Exactly. Thank you. We are woke. We don't give a shit about other people's
Woke
fucking their assumptions. You can assume all you want, you bastards.
So guys, apparently this episode's been woke af. It feels like it's been lit af. Anything else I'm forgetting?
Oh, nothing I can think of at the moment, eh?
It's too late to know.
Yeah.
Too late to know.
Everyone must know by now, but there's a survey that's
The
still
survey.
not closed, so please do the survey. The
Yeah.
South African National Cannabis Survey of Users and Growers
Something
on the Fields of Green website.
Yeah, and the comments for the bill were extended for another month. So
Till
this
end
is
of
also
November.
November.
A whole
Yeah.
month.
That's it. That's it. And then also you have to promise that you're going to stay safe and choose happy.
stay lit.
Grow your